Sure.
Hello, everyone. This is Ellen Bauman from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And joining us today is the Senior Coordinator of Health Services for our local school system and good friend Molly Satter. Welcome, Molly.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Molly, I asked you for an interview for two specific reasons. The first is just as I've gotten to know you over the years, we've talked a little bit about your work and the responsibilities that you have and things that you hold of value as a professional. And now we're in a time of a pandemic. And I'm just curious how this pandemic has impacted your work, your responsibilities, maybe inspired new creativities, and heightened or revealed new values. Let's begin with you sharing a little bit about what you do in your profession, some of your responsibilities, and help paint a picture of who you are in your workplace.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I'm the coordinator of health services, so I oversee all things health related. I supervise our school nurses, help develop policies and procedures health related policies and procedures, and work within our community, our city, our state, with local healthcare agencies to just make sure we bring health services to our students and their families. So that's just kind of a bigger picture view of what I do. I am a nurse by trade, and have been in my position for 13 years.
So I know you are a mother of five, and like the majority of people, found yourself working from home. The difference, I think, with your job is that it was directly related to COVID and needing to stay on top of everything, all the communication coming out, all of the policies coming out to be able to effectively kind of help people navigate this time. What did that look like with also helping your children with their changes of needing to study remotely and then stay on top of all of the communications and responsibilities that you had in your position? Can you give us a little bit of a picture of what that looked like in your home?
Well, it was different. It was pretty chaotic. So as you mentioned, I have five children, from 18 down to 2, and we were all home, and we were all working at home on devices, accessing school and work. I was very busy. Despite school being closed down and remote, there was a lot happening. So I was on a lot of calls. It was a strange time. And there were a few instances where just humanity came shining through. I was on a call once, and our mayor was on the call, as well as other professionals. And, my 2-year-old came in, and right when I was ready to speak, he jumped in and let everyone know how much he wanted breakfast. And so there were things like that happened that just, it kind of, your worlds collided a little bit, in that, your family and things at home were all of a sudden, made visible, or, people could hear what was going on in your home. And so it was just an interesting time, that's for sure.
So I recall early on in the pandemic, just interacting and having conversations with people. There were real vulnerabilities that started to kind of come out in conversations. Did you experience that as well? And if so, how did that impact your daily experiences with those you were working with on policy and all the different things that needed to be communicated? Did it change how you interacted with people?
Yeah, I really think it did. I think being in the middle of a pandemic, you just really couldn't stay kind of surface level. You just had to kind of dive right in. And a lot of times when you're talking to people, everybody was experiencing the same thing. And so there was no escaping it. And so that was going to come up in conversation. And, people were going through big things. You're home, you're working from home with your children. And so, it was hard to deny that and not to have that kind of flow into your work and conversations. And so, where you typically might be sitting in a meeting room and, talking strictly business, all of a sudden you're at home, and again, you have your family in the background, and, you might know someone's child is at home. So pretty soon you're asking them about how they are doing. And so it just kind of opened up the door to get to know people on a different level, and which wasn't a bad thing. That was a good thing. it kind of just took you right into getting to know folks a little bit better. And so since then, you know, that's obviously once you get to know someone, you can't at that level, you can't unknow that. And then you're going back into the office, and that does make you work and function differently when you have got to see another side of someone or got to know someone at that level. So, so definitely, I think that was one of the silver linings that came out of everything was that, you know, you all experienced something together and got to know each other on a different level. So.
What were ways that you found yourself being a little bit more creative? I know a little bit about your work and how you do in-services and things like that, but with distancing and all these restrictions that were put into place, how did you, or were you able to maintain some of these practices that are of value to you?
Yeah, so I've always greatly valued connecting with people, and especially, you know, on a deeper level, and in making sure there's just a cohesiveness, especially with our school nurse group. And so obviously with being remote, or even during the school year, not wanting to bring 30 people into a small meeting room, you know, a lot of our in-services and our nurse meetings have been continued to be a Zoom call. And so looking at ways that I can bring our nurses together so that they can still see each other, like really see each other and you know, maintain their relationships. And so for one of our meetings, I had them all do, you know, submit what they were most proud of for this year to a Google Doc form. And then I saved it and shared it with the group so everybody could see each other's responses. And you know, I got a great response from nurses on that. For our next upcoming in-service, I'm having them each submit a picture of anything. It can just be anything, their favorite coffee cup, a pet, their child, whatever it is they want to submit a picture about, and then tell everybody a little bit about that picture and what it means to them. And so these are just some of the ways that I'm trying to keep people connected. This fall, we had one of our school nurses, his building celebrated him and all of his work by dressing up as him and providing him with comments or positive comments and feedback. And so then I shared that information with our nurses, and it was just an overwhelming response from them. And it's just really this ability to connect them and to have people be seen. And in a time when I feel like they're, you know, you can maybe not be seen when you're on the other side of a computer. And so, so trying to just be creative in that way that we keep people together, and that the response that I get from that tells me that that's the right path when I hear back from nurses, and that they appreciate that and they love that and they love getting to know each other more in that way. And so that's been really great, and I recognize that that's as important as the logistical work of things, and maybe perhaps even more important. So yeah, so some of those things, I knew I always valued that, but gosh, since this has happened, it just kind of brought it to light that how important that is. And there has to be an intentionality with it too. So, you know, sometimes, you know, we could come together for an in-service in person, but never get to connect with each other in that way without some intentionality. And so it just makes me want to do more of that going forward.
Is it fair to say that you've noticed them work differently then because of these connections?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've seen them. So once you know some of that information, it just makes it easier to say, hey, how is that thing going for you? Or how, you know, the next time you see them, you know, just commenting on whatever it was that you've learned about them. And so it definitely does. It gives people that connection. And so that's been great and super important, I think.
I absolutely agree with you. If you were to think of some of the greatest takeaways with this period of, you know, the last 10 or 11 months and the pandemic and everything that has brought about and revealed, what would those takeaways be?
You know, I think there's just been so much, and my job was to been so much information, whether it's on social media, whether it's in the news, whether it's information you're getting from people around you. There's so much information and so much to follow, and things change so quickly, that I guess for me, that's important to know that information and to follow it, but that's not the thing that I'm going to hang my hat on, because that changes. And so, it just makes me realize even more that that connection with people, that getting to know people, really know people on a more intimate level, are the things that are important. And so, and that's the thing that doesn't change, right? So, I mean, the mask, what they tell you, if you should or shouldn't wear a mask, or if you should or shouldn't do this or that or the other thing, those things change. But that need and that desire to be with other people and to know other people doesn't change. And so that's, I guess, my takeaway is that's where my focus is. And the rest will just go as it may. So.
Well, thank you, Molly, for taking this time and sharing with us what it was like, or what it is like actually, to work through all of this, not just as a job, but as the focus of a lot of your responsibilities and work. Thank you for helping us understand a little bit more from your perspective and experience.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure to be here. So thank you for asking.
Thank you. Have a good night.